YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my takeaways of Sunday's action, NFL Week 10. A lot of wild games, wild endings. Maybe there was just really one wild ending. Well, we're going to talk about all of it, though. Breaking it down like we do every week. Full NFL coverage on the channel every week, all year long, even in the offseason. So if you're new, please subscribe. We have a Twitter. Always talking during live games on the Twitter. Talking football nonstop on there, even throughout the week. Link down below for that, as well as the Instagram podcast, Patreon. A lot going on. Links down below. The Patreon has junior score predictions every week. My bets for NFL and college football every week. Playoff predictions every single week, updated. Constant changes. Bonus content, Discord, a lot. There's a lot going on. Link down below. Really appreciate the support. Anybody signed up. First game. Not the most exciting game. You know, as soon as you saw what the weather was going to be like, yeah, you knew this would be less scoring than originally, predicted, but maybe not this low. But really, the only thing I could say about this game is run the ball, run the clock, and that's what the Browns did. I believe they ran over 40 times. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt had about 20 carries each. Chubb ran for first game back 120 or so yards. Kareem Hunt just a little bit low, just over 100 yards. Chubb had that big, run to end the game. Went out at the half-yard line, obviously. Probably hurt some people in fantasy because of that, but at least he got those yards. Last play. You don't expect them to get those yards. And they probably should have been tackled, but some very poor angles, very good run from Chubb. Underrated in terms of his speed. He's got more speed, and with his size and his strength, you would think he doesn't have that much speed, but he's got it. He looked fully healthy to me, so that's pretty much what this game was. I'd say smart, for the most part, because the Texans' run defense is pretty terrible. Maybe the worst in football. Definitely down there. So they ran the ball, ran the clock, and that just threw off the Texans' offense. They really couldn't get a groove going. Time possession game. That's what Stefanski wants to do. You win on that way. Why? I liked it, but I think they could have put them away a little earlier. Remember the Texans did miss a field goal earlier in this game. That could have made it interesting. Could have made it tied. I think the Browns could have, it was working. They ran the ball well. They made it a little too close than it needed to be. And that's my opinion. I think they could have. I think Baker was throwing the ball fine. I think they could have put the game away, but yeah, there's really nothing else here. The Browns controlled this game. They controlled the whole game. They controlled the clock. Just 40-plus carries. Just run the ball, run the clock. That's what happened here. Deshaun really couldn't get anything going. It's weird only seeing him throw for, was it under 200 yards around there? Browns were getting pressure. Richardson, Myles Garrett were getting pressure. It's just, weird. The Texans not being able to, get going. I know the weather wasn't ideal, I suppose, but you got to find ways. But, not much on that game. Browns just controlled the clock. That's really what it was, and they dominated the run game. Next game, Washington at the Lions here, and the Lions were just dominating this game. And I had, on the Patreon, I had my lock of the week. I had it when the Lions were -3, so it ended up being a push that way, but I know the line changed to -4, 4.5, around that range, and probably screwed some people over because the Lions decided to get very conservative, allowed Washington to come back. Was it 24-3 with 2:30 left in the third quarter? Then all of a sudden, just like that, it's 24-24. And then even with the Lions coming back, they're just too worried about running the clock or getting the ball back. They're too worried about running the clock, and they end up kicking field goals. Just too worried about the clock when they get up. You can dominate. You showed you can dominate. Swift was looking fantastic. Stafford was great throwing the ball. Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall, the two Marvins looked fantastic. Washington just couldn't really get anything going. This looked like a just pure domination from the Lions. Washington, it just looked like it wasn't even close. And I really think it's a great comeback for Washington. Alex Smith, they were getting Gibson going as well. It's a good comeback, but the Lions should not allow this to happen. It's in a way you almost wish they blew this completely, because then they would have realized they need to fire Patricia. I don't think Patricia's going to be the coach next year, so I guess it doesn't matter either way. But you can't allow that comeback. You're just the much better team in that game, within that game. But Washington came back. They were looking good. Then they tied the game, which really there was a bad call to keep that game alive. Actually, it was a call on Desmond Trufant. It was a pass interference call. That was a bad call. I thought it was bad live, and I saw the replay. It was really bad. Ball wasn't catchable, and it wasn't pass interference anyways. It was a really bad call. So that kept that alive, and then Washington kicks the field goal. And the Lions are getting the ball back. What was it, 17, somewhere around there, seconds left where they're starting that drive. So you're thinking there's really no shot. And then Chase Young, rookie mistake. That's worse than a rookie mistake, though. So unnecessary, roughing the passer, just a blatant late shove. He didn't hurt the guy. He didn't hurt Stafford by doing that, but it's just so unnecessary that he deserves a penalty for that. Stupid, stupid mistake. That gives him free 15 yards. It basically only took him one play to attempt, a 59-yard field goal, and Matt Prater clutches up, drills it. That was a big-time kick, but yeah, this is a Washington way to lose there, but they almost had to come back. I wish the Lions would put those types of games away. They've been up maybe not like that in the Bears game maybe, but in a lot of they were up 14-0, I believe, against the Packers as well. They start off good, and they kind of just blow it, So when are they going to learn? When are they going to learn to go out and put games away? But they get the W there. And Jacksonville in Green Bay, weird game. A little less scoring, especially from the Packers, than I expected. Early in the game, it just took a while for them to get going. 24-20. They really couldn't get the running backs going. They couldn't really get Aaron Jones going. Adams, they couldn't get going a whole bunch early. Valdes-Scantling had back-to-back pretty solid games. I dropped him before last week in fantasy. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, bunch of yards and a touchdown this week. So that's probably why. I don't know. But yeah, the Packers couldn't get much going. I guess the teams, the Vikings game as well. They don't have the best defense either. I guess it's weird because you double up Adams, you slow them down, but in a game like that, Adams still scores 3 times. He's still fantastic. But I guess that slows him down, forces other guys to do something. Rodgers did have a bad pick in this one too. Again, they couldn't get the run game going. They still won the game though. That's kind of the positive and the negative. One of those types of games. The Packers I was disappointed with their offense in this game. A rare mistake by Rodgers. They couldn't get the run game going, but they still won. So that's the good thing. But going in the Colts game next week against a really good defense, hopefully they got something because the offense has kind of been hot and cold. Starting to get glimpses of last year, even flashbacks of last year, which wasn't good. So 1 week they looked the best offense in football. So I want to say more consistent. They're gonna have to. I'm still confident with them. Still confident they're gonna have to be better than this though. Against the Colts. But the Jags almost could have ran the ball more. I thought James Robinson was looking good. I mean, right off the bat, he had like 6 carries for something ridiculous, 50 or so yards right off the bat. I wish that, they were down most of this game. Really not, most of it. If you had to say who was up more of time, it had to be the Packers, but they were up in this game. They were in the game. So there's really no excuses why you couldn't run the ball more. That's how you beat the Packers, and you were running pretty well. James Robinson's looking good. Luton wasn't playing too well. Robinson could have had more yards than Luton passing, if he kept running the ball there against a good team here. So, yeah, I wish they would have ran the ball more. They could have potentially won the game. But they actually had a chance to win the game, which is pretty wild for the Packers' part that the Jaguars actually had a shot. But the pass rush really turned it on there. For the Packers at the end there, just constant pressure getting to Luton there. So that was huge because the Jaguars had a shot there. They had a shot. So, just my takeaways. Jaguars could have ran the ball a little more. Packers got to be a little better going forward. I want to see them stay more consistent. They still win the game, though. They stepped up when they needed to. But, yeah, Adams gets hurt, so that's a little scary because he's had these somewhat minor injuries, that kind of nagging injuries. They pop up and they keep him out. So that was scary. And it felt like he was going to come back in. He's out again. He's out for a little bit. You're probably thinking he's not coming back in. Comes back in, and on that drive, he scored a touchdown. So, that threw the Jaguars off a little bit because I think they were trying to double him up, and then they were used to him out of the game. And then that made it easier, but they had to change the game plan a little bit. And then he gets thrown back in the game. He scores a touchdown. So that actually might have hurt the Jaguars. Now that I'm just talking about it right now, I'm thinking of that. That actually might have hurt them there. He ends up scoring, so they had to shift things around a little bit. So that was a positive for the Packers there. They get the job done there. Can't wait for that Colts game. Packers-Colts, offense versus defense there. Colts been getting some offense going together as well. Next game, Eagles-Giants. Man, I always look ahead to games. I always look ahead. Like, I'm already looking at even during yesterday's games, I'm looking ahead to next week's games. I always do that. And I'm looking at this one last week. And I'm thinking Giants, and why I'm thinking Giants is because they outplayed. I felt like clearly outplayed the Eagles last time they played, but the Eagles pulled it off at the end. Mistake by Ingram dropping the ball. Eagles clutch up at the end. But, even though the Eagles won, it felt like the Giants really, not by like a long shot, but I think they pretty clearly outplayed majority of the game, the Eagles. So I'm thinking Giants at home this time, they're going to take care of business. But then I guess too much time to think about it, Thinking about the Eagles on the bye week, they should get some things to go, get some things together, especially offensively, especially Carson Wentz. Maybe he can get out of this funk he's in. Maybe he can break out. They get some guys back healthy. But yeah, the fact that they were on a bye week and then you obviously knew you're playing the Giants. You already played them not too long ago. You have some things to go off of. You can game plan for extra time to know your opponent, extra time to know your opponent even more. The Eagles should win this game. There's just no excuses here. They should win this game. And they don't. The Giants once again outplay them. The Eagles are fortunate they got one on them. The Eagles are fortunate they won the Niners game as well. And the Giants just completely outplay them. Carson Wentz, didn't really turn the ball over, but like he normally has, but just didn't make plays, when he should have. I think more of the time he didn't really give his receivers much of a chance. Usually the excuses are with the targets and the receivers, but I don't know. Guys, I guess, could do a better job getting open, but you got to find ways, and he just wasn't making plays. I hated Peterson's game plan or his play calling in this game. He's been a little off this year. It's weird because it seems like to be in the crucial situations, 3rd and short, 4th and short, whatever it may be, it's like an automatic pass. It's like guaranteed. It's almost, and I kind of, if I had to prefer, it's not extremely short situations. If I had to say what's my preference, I mean, it depends on the situation, but, I like passing more than running in most of those situations unless it's super short. But the Eagles have become so predictable with that. If they act like they have Mahomes and the Chiefs, just an example, the Chiefs' wide variety of talent, they act like they have no running game. Sanders running the ball very well. Boston Scott broke that run. I wish they would use the running backs a little more. They were down in this game most of the time, but they were back in it, It was back and forth for a little bit in there. Even, it ends up in 10. The Giants got a late field goal. The Eagles had plenty of chances. They were in this game. I thought they could have ran the ball more in crucial moments. I thought they became too obvious. Carson Wentz couldn't get the job done. They look sloppy, both sides of the ball. There's just nothing good about this team right now. There's some players that are solid here and there, of course, but they got pressure too. They got pressure, and Daniel Jones took care of the ball. That's my takeaway there. But that's the thing. You may say, how did we not force them to turn over? They got pressure. They hit Daniel Jones quite a bit. But yeah, relying on that turnover isn't good. It's not good. And the Giants, if they don't turn the ball over, this ends up being the outcome of these games, a lot of these games, and they could have more wins because of that. So, good game for them. Slayton clinches the game at the end with that, pretty much with that deep ball. Great concentration. Really threw the DB off there. He's better than I think people think. He's been fantastic. Daniel Jones, good game. Gallman didn't. I think I don't know the exact stats on the top of my head. I know he scored twice, but in terms of the yards per carry, I don't think it was that good. I think it was under 3, if I'm not mistaken. But I think crucial times. He was breaking that extra tackle, so that was actually key. Probably go unnoticed, and the Eagles got to do a better job tackling. But disappointing from that's a game. That's a must-win game for the Eagles. Tough rest of the schedule for both these teams, actually. But that was a big game. If the Eagles won that, I thought they were probably the heavy favorites to win the NFC East. They lose that. Now it's pretty much up in the air. If Washington would have pulled their game off, that would have been huge for them. But, man, this division, something else. But, yeah, extremely disappointed with the Eagles there. Tough road ahead for them. Bucks, Panthers, the Bucks just after last week, they come out and they score 46 points. You don't know what to expect from these guys. But it seems like they do need to play a average to below average defense to do that. So that's kind of my knock on them still, while still scoring a bunch of points here in this game. For some reason, the score doesn't look right. Was that the actual score? I don't know why. It just 46-23 was the score. So the graphics guy messed it up. 46-23. I knew it didn't look right. Bucks won 46-23. So I apologize for that. People that are skimming. It's not a video people skim through probably. So everyone's going to make it. We're going to be okay here, except for the graphics guy. He's going to get it. He's on thin ice these days. But yeah, I mean, that's a good win for the Bucks. It looked kind of back and forth early, pretty close. I don't think it needed to be this bad, for the Panthers. I think, they allowed that Ronald Jones run. That should not happen. It just should not happen. They went for it a fake punt. They had a fake punt. So it didn't really need to be this bad. I didn't like the Panthers' game plan. I hated it more in the Falcons game a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, I love the coaching staff, the coaching duo, but they've had their bad moments. I think we all like it, but I think that makes us ignore the bad moments, And I think, I think they stuck too much to the game plan. Sometimes the game plan's key going into the week, going over film. It's great, but you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly. You can't just kind of go off that. And why I say that is because the Buccaneers' defense is pretty good for the most part, but they play a lot of soft coverage. They play off the ball, so I think you kind of play small ball against them quick, get the ball quick on the outside. And that works quite a bit. It works quite well on them. And so that has to be the game plan going in this game. But I thought that the big plays were working, taking shots to DJ Moore, getting DJ Moore going downfield. He had, I think right before half, I believe it was. Yeah, he had one that it was called to catch and taken away from it. It was a drop, so it was the right call. But even, I think coaches make a mistake on those too. It's a drop. That's the end of it. They like, man, we got to catch that ball. Let's not go back to that. No, that was a good play. It was a good play. If we go at those types of plays again, it could work. They have been working. So they kind of just took it back. Let's go back to the game plan. While the Bucs are continuing to make plays score, then we got to go for fake punts. We got to do this. So I don't really agree with that. And then they just stuck to too much of the game plan there. They couldn't really get much going after the game really got going. Big game for Ronald Jones. That big run had a big part of it, but he had the big run, so he's deserving. I mean, that was a 98-yard run. He had 190 so yards, so he had a pretty big game. He had a fumble early, so I was thinking maybe it's Fournette time, but Fournette looks slow. He looks slow. Godwin, good to see him getting going. I know he didn't score. Mike Evans was kind of hot and cold in this one. There was some balls I think he should have caught. Kind of losing his feet sometimes, but then he had some big-time plays as well, so it's good to see him, getting going. Gronk as well. They're using Antonio Brown, so that's good to see. But can the Bucs do this on, a better defense? That's kind of the question I have there. Teddy got hurt at some point in this game. Hopefully he's all right. It sounds like it's an injury, but it sounds like he could be good to go this week upcoming. But if he's not, then he should be back next week. So I guess that's good news, but it's not good anytime someone gets hurt. Next game, though, the Broncos-Raiders. Drew Lock stinks. I'm out with Drew Lock. Bad game. His receivers sure didn't help. They didn't play a good game either. They were pretty bad. A lot of guys stopping their routes, afraid of contact, plays they should have made. But there's no excuses. Lock was terrible. He played poor. Spent some excuses out there about the receivers, but just got to find ways, and he's just doing the opposite of that. Raiders come out and score right away. Then they slowed up for some reason. The Broncos right before half had some momentum. They were driving down the field, and then a really good play by, I think it was Heath. It's mainly a good play, but Locke can't make that throw there in that situation. So that was a killer. So you look at the score, 37-12, and you think easy win for the Raiders, and yeah, it kind of was. Is a clear win here. But if the Broncos can get in the end zone there, don't throw that pick. Don't lose momentum. It could be a whole different ball game. I still probably go with the Raiders, but it'd be a whole different ball game there. So that was a killer. I mean, he ended up with 4 interceptions. A couple of them were very, very bad, very bad. So they're still searching for their quarterback there. They just couldn't really get anything going. Like I said, the receivers didn't play good. A.J. Johnson, who I like a lot, played very poorly in this game. I saw a lot of poor tackling attempts and missed tackles that I just normally don't expect to see, I guess. But I already know he's not playing as good as he was last year. But, yeah, and they had 10 men on the field at one point trying to get a guy they had 9 guys in the field I forget who it was. Is it Reed? I can't remember who it was. And they were rushing him in to be the 10th man on the field. So they were still missing another one. So, yeah, Fangio, a defensive-minded guy. It's not working out. I do think he's a good defensive coach, but he's not doing well now. And I think every team at this point should have the best play caller you possibly can. I think Shermer's taken a lot of heat. He hasn't been good, but I don't really think it's Shermer. But that's off topic. That's besides the point. My point is I think teams need to have the best possible offensive play caller, offensive mind to win in today's NFL. How do you get that? You hire those guys want to be head coaches. They're not going to take the option B, so you're going to get kind of option B with your offensive play calling if you hire a defense coach. So, and on top of Fangio just not working out well, the Broncos not doing well. I know they had some injuries, but I don't know if that would have changed much. I thought the fully healthy Broncos were going to make the playoffs or just sneak in, maybe a 7 seed this year. And then we all have these excuses. I'm not going to make that excuse for myself. If they were healthy, they still weren't making it. So that was bad. Everyone that was high on Broncos, we've got to calm down the Broncos for sure. I think there's other teams where the excuse applies. You could argue it still applies with this, but I'm going to say no. They're just not good enough, plain and simple. So they're extremely disappointing. The Raiders, weird because another week where Derek Carr looks great. The downfield ball looks great, accurate. But he doesn't. Another week where he doesn't throw for a whole bunch of yards. So if you just look at the production, you may say underwhelming. Derek Carr's playing great. You almost could use they could use some more of that, but they're pumping the brakes a little bit because it's not really necessary. But I don't know where that cold spot was with them. I'm still trying to figure that out. Why? Because they scored right away and they had 7 points for so long there. So I'm still trying to figure out what happened there. I can't really figure it out myself. Protection's great. They ran the ball extremely well. I guess, they were running the ball. They weren't running that extremely well at that point, maybe. But yeah, Jacobs ran all over him. Booker ran all over him. They looked fantastic. Something that didn't look fantastic was the Raiders' receiving core. Darren Waller dropped the touchdown. They still made some plays here and there, but Darren Waller dropped a sure thing touchdown, so that hurt them. Good ball by Carr. It shouldn't happen from Waller. He does drop the ball here and there. But Ruggs had one good play, jumping over. That's something rare you see from him, jumping over a defender and catching the ball. So that was kind of surprising to see that from him, and it was good. But he's kind of good for one big play a game. He had a bad drop as well. They definitely need another receiver. That's a huge need. They need another number one receiver because you need multiple today. Hopefully Ruggs can turn into that, but I want to see more of him in a game. But I guess they didn't throw the ball a whole bunch. But yeah, Carr looked good. The offensive line looked good. Defense made plays when they needed to. Broncos extremely disappointing. Drew Lock extremely disappointing. A rough year for the Broncos. Chargers Dolphins. This game went exactly how I thought it would go. It almost exactly. The score wasn't exactly right, but it was pretty darn close. I think I have 27-23. So we're in the ball, very much in the ballpark there. I was talking about the Dolphins are going to blitz him. They're going to blitz Justin Herbert, this young kid. He hasn't seen this blitz. He hasn't seen this defense yet. And right off the bat, Needham, I think, gets a blitz and a sack right off the bat. And they block a punt. And the Dolphins just, all phases, continue to make plays. So easy. Ahmed looked good. Another Washington running back taking the place. Myles Gaskin looks fantastic for them. He had a pretty good game. So they get in the end zone right away. They're still bringing pressure. Herbert's missing throws. There's some guys that are actually open, but they're just instant pressure, instant blitzes that he hasn't seen, and it's just anybody. For anybody, it's hard to play against. Goff was a disaster against them. So missing some passes there. And the Dolphins got 14-0. It continues. Dolphins get the back. They're marching down the field. I'm like, this is pure. This is going, the blitzing part, I'm looking like I'm right about, but this is going to be a blowout. So I'm thinking I'm wrong about that part. And they're about to get up 21-0. But then Ted Karras has a bad snap. The Chargers recover it and get a decent return on it as well. And they were knocking on the door. So it was going to be 17 or 21-0 at that point. And the momentum completely shifted. And now I feel pretty good about having them draft a guy that can play center in my latest mock draft for Sean Slater from Northwestern. I'm feeling pretty good about that one because they could use a center. Karras only 1 year deal and had that bad snap, but we're not going to put that. We're not going to punish Karras too much for that. But we're getting off topic again. Yeah, but then it kind of just changed. The Chargers were kind of back, and it felt like, wow, they're only down 3 at some point. At one point, they're back in this game. Herbert's starting to, feel a little bit. Working against the blitz. Dolphins were getting kind of conservative. Not really getting they were getting conservative here and there, but then they would just take a shot, unnecessary too. So, I wasn't. There were some plays I didn't like, play calls, and there were some plays. I guess more of the play designs are still there. Those are still fantastic. But yeah, they controlled most of this game. Tua made some good plays. He made some risky plays as well. Kenneth Murray should have picked him off. He's been horrendous in coverage, and then should have had that pick. Just close his grip a little too late there, something. But yeah, other than that, the game pretty much went as expected there. Dolphins pretty much went on defense. Special teams play was pretty big. I guess the offense showed up when they needed to. Devontae Parker only had a couple catches, I believe, 2 catches, not too many yards. He had about 7 targets, though, so they couldn't get him going. I know he's a really good receiver, so I wish they'd get him going a little more. He had a touchdown taken back in this game, and everyone was like, yeah, clear, no touchdown. But I thought he got 1 foot down, and I know you need to get 2, but then he got his shin down almost at the same time he went out. It was tough to say what hit first. I thought his shin. I didn't see the replay a million times. I saw it enough to know his shin was down, and that's a body part down. So I thought that was a touchdown. I might have to see it again. The Dolphins end up scoring right after that anyways, but I thought that was a good play by Devontae Parker. So I thought he had maybe a better game than what the stats may say, but there was, a lot of targets with not a lot of catches there. So hopefully he works out with Tua because he's a really good receiver there, but Tua's looking pretty good as well. Wild game here, the Bills and the Cardinals. The Bills were playing great defense most of this game. The Cardinals ended up with 32 points. Bills were playing some really good defense most of this game. Murray really couldn't get anywhere early on. He really started going, though. You knew he would get going. But the Bills are really good at reading the read option, which Kyler Murray is very good at reading it as well, knowing when to give the ball to the back because they have it's a read option. They have the option he has the option to give the ball to the back or take it, go the opposite way. They were making the reads tougher, and they were good at reading who has the ball. It's been really tough for a lot of NFL players, and it's because it's something we haven't really seen a lot of in the NFL, when we started seeing it a couple years ago. So it's not nothing new this year, but it's nothing that these veteran guys are that used to, So they did a pretty good job with that. The Cardinals were only getting field goals for a certain time. The Bills weren't doing a whole bunch of offense. They were getting some field goals as well. Patrick Peters in the first half dropped a couple interceptions, one that he definitely should have had, I thought. And then right before half, Tyler Bass hits another. He had a big time kick there. So then the Bills got control, but you feel that the Cardinals are still in the game. But then the Bills really get control there. They're up by a couple scores, and then everything kind of goes south there a little bit. They can't stop Kyler Murray anymore, I guess just because they're up. That's what it feels like. That's really not it. But and the Bills couldn't really get anything going on offense. Just like that, the Cardinals are not only up, they're taking the lead. Kyler Murray making big-time plays. And the Bills still shut down. It's weird because you could say the Bills need to run the ball more. Not enough carries for the running back duo, but they're really not getting anywhere either. So it's tough. I don't know what to really say on that. Do they need to run the ball more? They do. They do. But if the running backs aren't really getting that many yards, they need somebody that can burst through the hole a little faster. They need more. Both running back, the Cardinals running backs had a pretty good day. Looking at the yards, Kenyon Drake fumble was pretty bad. That kind of set up the Bills getting up pretty big before the Cardinals started going on a run. That Drake fumble was pretty bad. But he had a ton of yards. Edmonds had a ton of yards, more of an average. I wish they would give Edmonds the ball a little more. I think we all do. But these running back, you're set up for success in this scheme. Everyone's worried about Kyler Murray and the deep ball at the same time. Most running backs should have success in this offense. So I was kind of thinking throughout this game, if they had a top-tier back, this would be the scariest offense in the NFL, no question. If they had a top-tier back, make teams that much on their toes, that much fearing them. But they're looking fantastic. They had a great game, but that would be scary. It's hard to come across. There's not too many top-tier backs in football, so it's tough to do. But yeah, the Bills need somebody as well because they need to, it's just too much pressure on the offense. Josh Allen throwing the ball downfield. He ended up having a couple picks that were pretty, crucial in this game. Pretty bad. He's lucky he didn't have more picks, though. But he's got a tough task on him now. He's got to, because there's no running game. He's got to throw. He's got to make better throws, But let me back up a little bit. Cardinals really pulling away, and they get the ball back. They're marching down the field. A great play. Larry Fitzgerald is wide open downfield instantly, and Murray throws a bad ball behind him, and something fluky happens. That was one of the more fluky interceptions I've seen. Larry Fitzgerald is so damn good at not letting the ball hit the ground that it kind of hurt. I mean, it wasn't his fault, but it kind of hurt them in the end, because if he just kind of, a normal receiver would have let the ball hit the ground there, tried to catch it, but the ball would hit the ground, and he keeps it underneath him, and I don't know how, but it pops up exactly where I think it was Poyer, where he's running and catches the ball. So that was huge. The Cardinals were about to go down there and put the game away. And bad throw by Murray. You know, Murray's been fantastic, definitely in the MVP conversation, but he'll have those throws that should be routine. Like he gets a little too crazy, you know, and footwork gets wild. He wants to just throw it like rapidly. It doesn't need to come out quick, but he's had those. He did it in the Seahawks game too, which they end up winning that game too. He has some interceptions. He has those plays. I know it was a fluky interception, but with that throw, you're almost deserving of one. So he needs to calm. I know he's young, second year. He needs to calm down on those. So that could have cost them as well. But then Josh Allen's throwing interceptions, and it just kept feeling like, all right, the Cardinals are going to put it away. No, put it away there, but then that interception happens. Oh, the Cardinals are going to put it away now. No, the Bills got the ball. And then they get Drake Kirkpatrick, big-time interception for him. All right, Cardinals won the game. It's over. And then the incomplete sack. Like, was the worst possible drive where you should be putting a team away possible. Back up. I'm all over the place. I apologize. Back up to the previous one. Where it felt like the Cardinals put the ball away. Huge stop by the Bills. It was a read option to Kyler Murray. He couldn't really hand it because they read that. They were up on that, and he couldn't really run it. He actually lost yards, I believe. That was beautiful by the Bills. Absolutely beautiful. So that was huge on the Bills' defense. Bills' defense played a pretty good game, even though they allowed so many yards. But then we go, then the Cardinals they got to put this one away, right? Maybe one first down they needed. It might have been just one first down. It could have been two, but if you've got one and you had to give them the ball back, they were going to have no time really. So just get one first down, and they couldn't do it. Not only that, they were stopping the clock. Kingsbury seems pretty backward sometimes. You know, he seems to outsmart himself. He seems to go. It's good not to, you don't want to be predictable, but I think he does that too much, like where it's like he goes against what's working. He doesn't want to be predictable, but he goes away what's working, and it's starting to get obvious because he goes against that so much. But passing the ball to stop the clock, and then Kyler Murray got the sack there. Josh Allen wasn't sacked once in this game. They were getting good pressure, Cardinals, but they wasn't sacked once. Pressure was key. But, not sacked once. Cole Beasley had a huge game. He had a monster game. Torch Peterson on one, had that big one-handed catch to keep the drive alive, to keep the game alive. Beasley has that many yards. Ziggs has that many yards, not sacked. It's a game they probably should win. And at the end, it was a game they should have won. But it was a game that the Cardinals should have won so many times. That fluke interception, put the game away, give the Bills a shot. And the Bills marched down the field. A beautiful ball to Diggs in the end zone. That was a great ball, despite some bad moments for Josh Allen. And then the Cardinals get a shot, and they're really wasting time on these plays, kind of making it worse, but then everyone knows the rest. Kyler Murray on the run, beautiful throw, finding DeAndre Hopkins over the Bills' three best stud secondary players, DBs, in Poyer, Hyde, and Tre'Davious White. And then Hopkins just the better player there, going up and catch the ball. Arguably the best receiver in football, and that you can put that on his resume as well. Big time play. So it was basically, I think the Cardinals choked the game away, then the Bills choked the game away in the end. The Cardinals should have had this one wrapped up. They really should have multiple times, and they kind of blew that. So I don't know. I'm almost taking away more negatives from this game. These are really good teams, but games that they both got to put away there. But wild game for sure. Cardinals play the Seahawks Thursday nights. Cardinals beat them in a thriller last time. And the Seahawks are cold now. It'll probably be a thriller again. I'm already back and forth on it because I picked the Cardinals last time because of the matchup. You guys know I like to find matchups, pick matchups. Matchups don't always win. Thursday Night Football in Seattle. Tough to see Seattle lose another one. Do you kind of lean that way? But they're playing bad football right now. The Cardinals almost look like not only the better matchup, but the better team right now. So it's kind of back and forth. It's tough to win coming off a dramatic win like that, too, though, and on a short week, too. So, in my head, so back and forth on that one. Either way, we should be in for a good one. And speaking of the Seahawks Rams, a little more defense than I expected. I think the Rams could have scored more points in this one. They know Goff's inability to take care of the ball sometimes could have cost them. They didn't want to give Russell Wilson the ball back with a lot of time, even though they were giving him the ball back, being a little conservative. But I don't really blame him too much. They were running a lot of clock. That was key. But they kind of kept the Seahawks in the game at the same time. But, so that was a tough thing. I think the Rams, if they could have went with the game plan, they could have kept scoring, but they didn't want to risk it. Goff actually played a pretty good game. He got strip sacked at one point. He played a pretty good game. Made some big-time throws. It's mainly a McVay-type game. Reynolds was great. He looks like he's getting better and better. Sure thing catching the ball downfield. Looked fantastic there. The Rams kind of just outplayed them most of this game. I think they outplayed them a little more than the score says as well. They did a pretty good job running the ball, nothing crazy. I think their averages probably went down when they got conservative at the end trying to run the clock. The running back group looked pretty good. Again, they were throwing the ball pretty well. They were marching outfield. The defense, though, this Rams defense is the real deal. One of the best in football, or maybe it could be at the top. Really can be. They're locking down DK. They're locking down Lockett for the most part. It's fantastic. So tight in coverage. And I was kind of saying that this Rams defense is not a good matchup because they have strengths where the Seahawks strengths are, and they can slow them down a little bit. I still thought the Seahawks offense can go more. Russell Wilson's just not right now, looking like he was having the best season of his career, first half of the season. Now it's looking like maybe the worst. It's gone from one extreme to another, making some bad throws. Darius Williams made a really good play on the second one. Wilson should not throw that ball. First one from Wilson, very bad, though. He actually had time early in this game, but the Rams were really starting to get pressure. Leonard Floyd, he looked good coming out of Georgia. He looked pretty good, promising. And then all of a sudden he couldn't get any pressure, and that was playing opposite of Khalil Mack. So I don't know what happened, but he couldn't get sacks really. He can get some pressure, but he couldn't really finish and get sacks. So that was a problem. And 3 sacks in this game. He's at a 7, I think, on the year. Monster season. He's looking fantastic. And my guy from Alabama, Terrell Lewis, who I was very high on. You just worry about the injuries. Early part of this year, some injuries, comes back. He's been pretty good. In the limited time he's been back. He had 2 sacks in this game. Love to see it. Taylor Rapp, who was one of my draft hits as well, he got hurt in this game. So that's bad to see because you're going against the Bucs Monday Night Football this upcoming week. So that could be a tough loss, but they got some ball players back there no matter who they put in. They got some ball players. Jalen Ramsey locked down in coverage. They're so good at tackling. They'll be sneaky with their pressure. I mean, this defense, both sides of the ball won the game. That's why the Rams are sneaky. I've been saying they've been sneaky good. They are one of the most balanced teams in football. It's just about taking care of the ball. That's what they got to do. Goff played a pretty good game, though. I think somebody said that Goff can outplay Russell Wilson. I think it was the bold takes video, and he did. It was mainly because Wilson beating up himself. Really nothing. Again, 23 points for the Seahawks looks like a good defensive performance, but it wasn't. Poor tackling, poor angles, guys wide open. The Rams could have scored more points this game. Poor performance. Jamal Adams doesn't. He's not right either. I know he's been injured a little bit. The week 1 he looked really good. It looked like Jamal Adams. That's it. He was poor in coverage the other games before he got hurt. This game, Malcolm Brown. I saw the replay again. I saw it live, but I saw the replay again on the Malcolm Brown touchdown early. I don't know what Adams was doing on that play. That was beyond bad and concerning. He's a blitzer. That's what he's good at it. That's it though. That right now, I know he's better than this, but it's bad. The whole defense is bad. And now the offense. Now I don't know what's going on. Big game it's a huge game against the Cardinals on Thursday. So again, I was just talking about at the end of the last game. I don't know what to expect from that game. That's a big time win for the Rams. Big game Monday night against the Bucs. I think they win that in terms of the matchup. I think they win it. Monday night in Bucs. Taylor Rapp probably going to be out. The Rams, the question is, very balanced team, but are they consistent? So another one you kind of back and forth on. Big win for the Rams. This game kind of went to where I expected. I predicted 27-14 Saints, so I was very, very much right there with that one. But kind of a weird game. The Niners start off with a score. They're up, and they're moving the ball again. Then they end up with a field goal, and the Saints just can't do anything on offense. Really good game I still think a good game from the Niners defense. Maybe not in the red zone, but I still think a good game. And then you have, mistakes by the Niners to allow the Saints. The Saints only points for the most part were starting in great field position because the Niners mistakes. They had a weird ball bounce off somebody's foot. They got it. They had a muff punt at one time. They got stopped on 4th down. They had a lot of weird things like that. And the Saints were just really only getting their points off of starting in good field position. So the Saints offense really didn't play in the red zone. They played good. Kamara was big time down there. I know Breeze got hurt at one point. The Saints defense in special teams mainly won this game. The Saints defense was big time for them. They were forcing these punts. They were locking down after the Niners scored early, but that was about it. So another big time game. The Saints defense, they're looking better. I know you expect them almost to be good in this game, but they're looking better and better each week. Maybe a little better last week, but that was against the Bucs. That's why. So they're looking pretty good. I think that for the most part they won this game. But the Saints offense executing in the red zone, like I said, Kamara racking up touchdowns. They're executing there. So the Niners kind of hurting themselves there, which they can't afford to do. But it's not that surprising because how many guys are out. But Breeze gets hurt. He could miss some time. It doesn't look super bad, but given that he's old and he doesn't want to hurt his team there, but he's still on the sideline during this game looking okay. So hopefully he's back soon, but they got Winston, so that's good. And they have Taysom Hill, their utility guy, to work in. That's fantastic as well. But Winston, it was weird. It was weird seeing this offense because it's not a Jameis Winston type offense. So that's going to be interesting going against the Falcons. But it was the right type of offense to be running, especially in that situation, because the Saints had the game. They didn't want to give it back, and Winston has the turnover potential. He also has big play potential, but just taking it easy, throwing the ball in the flat, and he made some solid throws doing that. It just looked weird, Winston being so conservative, but he had to. It was the right plays, the right moves here. It's just weird seeing it though. So we'll see what they do because I think it's gonna be Winston against the Falcons. So that's gonna be a pretty good game, and we'll see what Winston can do there. But the game pretty much went as expected. More special teams mistakes than I thought. Next game, Bengals Steelers. I don't have a lot on this. I try to watch every game, and this is not a game that I saw a whole bunch of. I saw Chase Claypool, my guy Chase Claypool, getting in the end zone a couple times. Deontay Johnson tearing it up, Juju tearing it up as well. The big three over there. They even got James Washington for the 4. But the big three tearing it up, doing big things, a lot of yards and points responsible for those guys big time. So you love to see that. Trying to pick out which one had the best game out of them, it's hard to do. That's a good thing. Big Ben thought he'd be a little slow this week mainly because the you can't be 100% with that knee last week. I'd be a little sore at least. But he was fantastic. They can't really get the run game going. I wish they could use Anthony McFarland a little more because they need more speed from the backfield, I think. Connor just doesn't have enough speed. He's a good back, but can't really get anything going. But it's still okay. They still took care of business here. It's just the Bengals' weakness, like we said during the week, that the pass rush, a team that has a good pass rush, really take advantage of their poor offensive line, and they can't get pressure themselves either. So offensive line, defensive line, big weakness for the Bengals. Joe Burrow's job made harder. Good to see T. Higgins having a pretty big game. I don't have much from this game. It was a dominant game for the Steelers. There's really not a whole bunch else you could say. It felt like the Bengals could have more points. They could have had more points in this game. Disappointing in the red zone. I don't have a lot in that one. Dominant win for the Steelers, as expected. Should have been expected. The Slop Fest. Breaking news on this one. Breaking news. Both teams had to play in the same weather. Not just the Ravens. I see a lot of people making excuses. Yes, I understand you can't play to your full ability. You can play better with, in clearer weather. But both teams had to play in this weather, be playing in this weather. And guess what as well? That was a monsoon, but there's going to be some games like this in the playoffs. So the Ravens got to figure something out here. They got to figure something out. Another game where Lamar's helpers didn't give him help. I think there's more of that than there is Lamar being disappointing. Lamar's been a little disappointing. He's got Steelers game, turned the ball over too much. Got to make some throws. Got to make bigger plays. But there are way more times where his units has not helped him. Bad snaps in this one. Again, I know the weather's bad, but you got to find ways. It's football. It is football. Bad snap might have cost them the game. Receivers dropping balls. Again, I know it's raining, but your NFL players, you got to find ways. There's going to be plays like this in the playoffs. Body catch it if you have to. Use your body. This is when you're supposed to use your body. So bad drops. Running backs can't get it going. Gus Edwards looks like their best back, most explosive. Ingram looks pretty explosive. They just can't get him going. It's more expected, I guess, when he's on the field. Fourth down play was a disaster earlier in the game. I think it was that was third quarter, actually. I was about to say first half. That was third quarter. Fourth down conversion. That kind of cost the game as well. Dobbins doesn't have enough burst. He's looked good last few weeks. Not enough burst, though. Edwards might look like maybe Justice Hill. Let's get Justice and get some more speed going. Maybe we'll go that route. I don't know. Nobody's helping out. Hollywood Brown really can't get separation. So imagine a 4-2 guy that can't get separation. Not good. Not good. So they need more receivers. They got guys, Prochet, Duvernay. Those are like one-dimensional guys, though. They had a bunch of one-dimensional type receivers there that they could play, but I don't know. Not a whole bunch of help there. I know Boyle got hurt, so that was tough. They couldn't really. Just too much on Lamar on the offense. Too much. His interception was pretty bad. Too much. A little short. Way too much inside. They just couldn't get anything going, And then Cam didn't throw a whole bunch of times, but he did his job. Damien Harris, looked like he was hurt pretty bad last week. He plays right away in this game. He had a pretty big game. Where the Ravens, you expect them to be better on defense, where the rain really shouldn't affect them. Because remember, it affected their offense. It's affecting. I'm pointing the wrong way. The camera's backwards. It affected them on offense. Why didn't it affect them on offense? This is cut off right here. Why? They were running hard. There was missed tackles, bad angles, guys that a lot of low effort. Maybe that's it. You just didn't feel like being there. Maybe. I don't know. That's bad. That's bad though. So no excuses. No excuses. I see people making excuses. Come on now. I know they can't play their full game because of the rain, but either can they. It could be different. It could be different if there's no rain, but there was. It's football. It's football. That's playoff football. Come on now. After seeing the Titans on Thursday, I'm like, man, Ravens are going to beat this team. It's going to be easy. After seeing, I know it's in the rain. After seeing the Ravens, I don't know. Another game I don't know about yet. It's a big one for the Patriots to stay alive. I was saying it over and over during the week. I felt something. Anybody that listens to me doesn't skim through. They heard me say it a million times. I felt something at the end of that Patriots, and I picked the Ravens, so I was wrong. But I felt something at the end of that Patriots with Cam maybe. At the end of that Patriots-Jets game, I kept saying, I know it was the Jets, but that comeback felt special. It felt good. Cam felt revived. He felt like the confidence, the momentum for him, the team was there. And it happened going in this game where the tougher team wins. It was there. It was there. The Ravens match up better on both sides of the ball. That's why I picked the Ravens, but Patriots can turn things around. This team's really not going anywhere, I don't think. But they can turn some things around here. So, big win for them. And that wraps it up. I was about to go to the next game. A lot of big games coming up this week. We still got a Monday night game. I'll be talking about that on Twitter. My Vikings versus Danny and Junior's Bears. I did pick against my team this week. I'm hoping I'm wrong, even though, at the end of the day, neither team's probably going. Both teams can go on a run, make the playoffs maybe. Vikings a lot less likely, but neither are probably going anywhere. But it's going to be an entertaining game there for sure. So follow our Twitter. We have this video every Monday. We have power rankings, prediction score, a lot. We got a lot going on. We got a lot. Please subscribe. Turn notifications on. Smash that like button if you enjoyed. Appreciate you watching. That's going to do it. Goodbye.